2019 has been a very interesting year for Call of Duty in general. Obviously, Black Ops 4 was the primary title for the year, and it still is as of right now, but soon Modern Warfare will be taking over that role, and aside from that, we also got the announcement of Modern Warfare, which kinda broke the internet, all things considered, and we even got a mobile Call of Duty game that is a mashup of various Treyarch and Infinity Ward titles. So all around, Call of Duty has had a very innovative year thus far more than what we have seen in the past, but how does all of this innovation stack up when compared to what we have seen previously? Well, today I'm going to answer just that, as I figured it was finally time to give you guys my honest opinions about which Call of Duty games I loved, which ones I really wasn't too fond of, and which ones were just mediocre. So today we're breaking down my list of the best and worst Call of Duty games that I've ever played, but before we get into all of that, if you are new here, feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on, that way you'll always know when I upload a new video, and of course if you do enjoy this one, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated. And now, let's rank the Call of Duty games from worst to best. So I do want to say right off the bat, this list is only going to consist of the Call of Duty games that I've played, as obviously it is kinda hard to rank something that you have not experienced. And with that, we will be covering all of the games since COD 4 Modern Warfare all the way until now, with the exception of World at War, because I probably have maybe a total of 4 hours played in that game, so I really can't rate it based on that very small amount of experience. Anyways, starting off the list as the worst Call of Duty, we have Infinite Warfare. And when I say this is the worst Call of Duty, really what I mean is that this is the game that I enjoyed the least out of all the ones that I've played. But with that said, I really don't think Infinite Warfare is a bad game. I think this game was more of just a wrong place, wrong time kind of thing, because at the time, advanced movement was really just growing stale, and Infinite Warfare didn't really offer up much that we didn't already have back in Black Ops 3, outside of different maps and weapons and basic things like that. So while Infinite Warfare may be at the bottom of my list, and while it may be a game that I consider to be the worst Call of Duty, really it's not that bad of a game, but it's just not as good as the others. It did have a great DLC model, in all honesty, and the advanced movement, while it was ultimately the driving force behind the game's lack of attention, is actually really smooth too. But nonetheless, Infinite Warfare sits at the bottom of my list. Next up, we've got World War II, another game that I was pretty eager to play at first, but ultimately it just wasn't my cup of tea. Once again, I don't think World War II was a bad game, and frankly Sledgehammer did a great job with it, but ultimately the big features that now make the game stand out were not added in time for me to really enjoy the game as much as I would have liked. Things like the Division Overhaul and the Prestige Master rewards were features that really made the game a lot better, but by the time they released, I had kinda already moved on from World War II, so much like Infinite Warfare, this game just did not catch my attention enough. Moving on, after World War II, I think I gotta have Black Ops 4 as a game that is slightly better than our first two on the list, but really not good enough to outlast any of the other titles, and that's mainly because 1, the microtransactions really take away a lot of the game's potential, and 2, the multiplayer and zombies modes just do not feel fresh enough compared to Blackout. Now, the microtransactions are easily the biggest plague in Black Ops 4, and those kind of spread into all 3 major modes as something that takes away from the potential grindable unlocks. We've had Blackout characters released that could have been great character mission unlocks, we've had camos and outfits that could have easily been Prestige Master rewards, and we've seen a plethora of DLC guns that could have been added in via community challenges, yet instead it all just gets tossed behind a paywall or terrible RNG odds. So that really made the gameplay feel like it was a lot less rewarding than in prior years, and while Blackout is easily my favorite mode in the game, the fact that it took a lot away from multiplayer and zombies is kind of a bummer as well. So Black Ops 4 unfortunately does end up near the bottom of my list for now. As we approach the middle ground here, the next best game after BO4 in my eyes is Modern Warfare / Modern Warfare Remastered. Admittedly, I put a lot more time into MWR than the original COD 4, since I didn't even have an Xbox when COD 4 came out, but in the time since, I've put a lot of time into the game, and I've had a pretty good time on it. Truthfully, the game isn't too bland, but it also isn't too flashy, and it's not really anything extraordinarily good, and it really was just a solid game for its time. But in comparison to the extravagance and innovation of the other Call of Duty games we've seen since, I just really can't see it being much higher on my list. After COD 4, I've got Ghosts, which may seem like a surprise to a few of you, since Ghosts really was not the most well-received title out there, but frankly, I really enjoyed it. For one, I was actually really good at the game. I could drop chem strikes pretty consistently. I know, weird flex, but I feel like that factors into why I enjoyed the game as much as I did. Now, while Ghosts was still a standard boots on the ground game, I feel like it still was pretty innovative, and when it came to content, Ghosts had some awesome DLC. Not only did we have some pretty cool camos, but we also had voice packs. We could have Snoop Dogg commentating over our game, which was absolutely hilarious, and to this day, I still think the voice pack DLC was one of the best DLC items that we've ever seen in Call of Duty. So Ghosts definitely sits well with me. Following that up, I've got Black Ops 1, a game that I didn't really take all that seriously, and for that I have some incredible memories of it. I played a ton of zombies back in BO1, and frankly, I loved all the maps in that game. To this day, I think Call of the Dead is still my favorite, and Moon is probably a close second. And the multiplayer was also really fun to me too. Hotel is probably in my top 5 maps of all time, and the Commando is easily one of my favorite weapons as well, so BO1 has a lot of various elements that I absolutely loved, and thus it lands a spot in the top half of the list for me. Then after BO1, I have another one that may come as a surprise to you guys, that being Advanced Warfare. Yes, I think Advanced Warfare is a great game, and yes, it is in my top 5 favorite Call of Duties. I know that might not be the most popular opinion out there, but frankly, I thought Advanced Warfare provided a ton of fun from start to finish. Much like Ghosts, I was actually pretty good at this game. DNA bombs were second nature to me, and the weapon diversity in the game with all of the weapon variants made gameplay feel very fresh and unique all year long. On top of that, customizing score streaks was awesome, and it was the first time we ever had advanced movement, so obviously the gameplay itself was very unique at the time. Then I've got Modern Warfare 3 as my 4th favorite Call of Duty game ever. If I could sum up Modern Warfare 3 in one word, it would definitely be Specialists. Running Specialists in MW3 was easily my favorite thing to do, as that super soldier feeling you got once you unlocked your Specialist bonus just felt so satisfying to run around and slay out with. Not to mention the game had Infected, that's a classic, and All or Nothing, which I found myself playing for hours upon hours on end. It also had iconic weapons like the MP7 and the ACR, which to this day are two of the best weapons in Call of Duty history, and easily two of my favorites as well. Coming in at my 3rd favorite Call of Duty, I've got Black Ops 3. BO3 was a game that just had so much to do in it, and the game really expanded past its main year of support. We had DLC weapons and Grand Slams and triple plays dropping over a year after it released, and the game really felt alive for far longer than most of the other Call of Duty titles we've seen. BO3 also introduced Dark Matter, so we had an ultimate end goal for MP, and Specialists were actually rewarding and not so much of a handout like they are in Black Ops 4. In general, between the content we saw added into BO3 through DLC updates, and the core game itself feeling really smooth, I honestly really enjoyed the 2+ years we had of constant activity on the game. Now we get into the spicy stuff, my favorite and my 2nd favorite Call of Duty games of all time. So with the runner-up on my list coming in as my 2nd favorite Call of Duty game ever, I've got Black Ops 2. BO2 was a game that really had something to do everywhere you looked. Core multiplayer was awesome and had plenty of solid weapons to use, from the MSMC to the MP7 to the M8 to the Ballista. The weaponry was top tier, as were the maps like Raid and Plaza, plus you can't forget the VSAT dogs and Swarm score streak setup, which to this day is one of the most dominant setups to run in all of Call of Duty. Aside from that, League play in BO2 was easily the best competitive experience I've ever had, and Zombies was also pretty fun as well. So all around, BO2 had everything going for it, and with those 10 games out of the way, that of course means my #1 all-time favorite Call of Duty is none other than Modern Warfare 2. Now, to be honest, MW2 was physically not a fantastic game, as it had exploit after exploit and bug after bug that even to this day can still be exploited, but based off the amount of memories and good times I have on Modern Warfare 2, the game is always going to be my #1 COD. Whether I was going for a nuke with the Harrier and the Chopper Gunner or the AC-130, or if I was playing some hide and seek or Mike Myers with a group of friends, MW2 always gave me nothing but fun. Sure, OMA noob tubes were broken and Danger Close made it even worse, and just about every weapon in the game was overpowered or broken in some way or another, At the end of the day, the game had so many ways to play it and had so many options for fun, it never really got old to me. So with that said, MW2 is my favorite Call of Duty game of all time. That is effectively going to wrap things up for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated. And of course, if you are brand new here to the channel and you do want to stay up to date with everything going on in the world of Call of Duty, ranging from news to leaks to updates and everything else in between, feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when I upload a new video. As always, be sure to use code IMMORTAL on all G Fuel, Control Freak, and Respawn products. All of those links can be found down below. And once again, thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.